which I will show in a moment. Just a couple of examples. This is kind of scary. If you'll go to India or China today, one of the high growth, in fact in China they say their national bird is the crane, but it's not the crane that walks in water. It's the crane that's building all these buildings for the future. And those cranes are working very, very long and hard to build universities. And it's interesting that and India is the same way. It looks very different. You can drive across a vast nothingness in India and all of a sudden you see these glass towers jumping up out of the sky, into the sky, and you can see innovation in splotchy sections across that country. But both of them are on a path. And what those two countries have that we don't have is a lot of people. So what does that do to the United States? Well, we could be proud in our history that we had the highest number of high school graduates for a number of years and the highest number of percentage of college-going students. They're building a university a month in China right now, and the folks who are teaching in those universities wonder where they got their education. They came to the United States, they came to England, some of them to Australia, but primarily the United States and England. They went to places like Harvard and Stanford, and they're on a pathway right now. And that pathway is, they're going to build new Harvards and new Stanfords in China and in India. And it's an interesting pattern in the United States. When we first began this movement of immigrants coming to the United States for educational purposes, what happened to them? A lot of them stayed here because of the relative advantage of the United States. But that trend is turning. Many of them are returning home now for their own countries. So you can see where we're going to be in just a few years in terms of college graduates. Look at the United States. If we maintain our current projections by 2015. That's not sometime in the far distant future. This is happening, this is underplay, this is in action right now. So, somebody could say, well, you know, the college graduates in China are not equal to the college graduates in the United States. I would say that's probably true in some cases. Some of these graduates don't have the kind of rigorous curriculum that we have in the United States, but I would say there are some who do. And that means we're not going to win this population race. We've already lost it. So what in the world are we going to do with that small number of people against those large numbers coming out of these other countries? I submit that we have some major challenges ahead of us that we have to face very dramatically. Let's move to the next one. This kind of helps pull that picture together. I apologize for people in the back of the room who can't read this, but this is a very telling shift. You can see over in the right column a set of labels. Routine manual, non-routine manual, routine cognitive, non-routine analytic, and non-routine interactive. These are broad ways in which labor folks divide up tasks that individuals carry out in their day-to-day work assignments. Look at 1960. We had a fairly equal balance of job requirements in the United States. That is, we had jobs for people who could fit in any one of those categories. But look at this rapid shift of demand for jobs over just this short period of time, this last 40 years. The world has turned upside down in terms of our future. Look at the downward trend in some of these areas and the upward trend in the others. In other words, what we can see in this picture is that some jobs, as we all have assumed, because we have noticed from time to time that a factory closes down, or that some people have to find a new job. But the dramatic shift in the number of individuals and the percentage of individuals going out of these manual positions and into these higher two categories of non-routine interactive, non-routine analytical. So that, with that previous slide, gives you a sense of the future for the United States. And you can't do those higher level jobs without a high level of education. Our economic future is tied directly to how well we educate this next generation of children going through our schools today and the one after. We will not have the jobs. Someone told me a figure about Kentucky, that there are as many people on the public welfare system as there are in our public schools. Brad, you may know this. That's a scary thought, particularly if all those individuals who are coming through the system in the future are going to be those that have the manual skills to move forward, and there are no jobs there for them to move ahead. This is the dilemma for Kentucky in the next few years. Let's move to the next one. So how are we doing? This is relative achievement of countries in the world. The point is, this was in science, which we can repeat it in whatever. For those of you in the back of the room, we're in the middle of the pack. So all of us who think that the United States is doing quite well, thank you, we are no longer the leader in the world in terms of performance of our students. This is the one that's most disturbing to me. For all the promises in America, we talk about this as the land of opportunity. We talk about this as the land of equality. And in a place where you could have a high quality and high opportunity, you would expect then there to be an inverse relationship, or at least a negative influence of socioeconomic status on educational outcomes. Of course, where you want to be in this is in the upper right-hand corner. That is, you have very high achievement and you have high quality of outcomes for those students. So, look where the United States resides on this. This is the quadrant you don't want to be in. That is, lower outcomes, relative outcomes, and low and high inequality in terms of results. Greater disparity between individuals who graduate from our schools and their knowledge base based on socioeconomic income.